So excited. I know we were just on, but I am excited to now come to you, our special guest, Daina Gardiner, and she is owner of the Energized Woman. So welcome, Daina. Nice to have you here.
Hi, I'm excited to be here.
All right. So let me tell you a little bit about Daina. She is a holistic nutrition consultant and owner of the Energized Woman. She supports and guides female leaders in becoming their most energized, intuitive selves in order to create the career, business, and life of their dreams. She is wildly passionate about dissolving medical gaslighting. Oh, I love that. For women with chronic exhaustion, burnout, and brain fog, and helping them step outside the mainstream symptom or diagnose focused treatments. Her mission is to empower women to return to the roots of natural healing through body autonomy and health intuition. Awesome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. That is really impressive and right up my alley.
Good. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And so I always start by asking, what are the two things that your ideal clients struggle with that you help them overcome? Because there's so many things like in that realm, but I'd like to pick out like the top two, because when we focus on everything, we get nothing done. If we focus on one or two things, we start to see the shift.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So most of my clients come to me because they are exhausted in some way or shape or form, whether that's burnout, or maybe they're battling a stealth infection like Epstein-Barr virus, or perhaps, long haul COVID, something like that. And when I work with them, I always look at two main health problems, and that is, how inflamed are you? Do you have a lot of inflammation? How is that like affecting everything? Because that is a total body health imbalance. And the other side of the coin is how well their stress response is responding to the stress in their life, and how strong it is, how resilient it is, and how it's capable of keeping up with their busy lifestyle. While my clients are exhausted, they are still busy, ambitious women.
Aren't we all, right?
Yes.
In
Yes.
that thing, we just keep going and going and going and going like the little Energizer bunny, and we don't stop to like say, okay, wait a minute, what's going on with this body here of mine? And I just really like that, you mentioned the like the brain fog and the burnout and all of those, but just the mainstream symptom or diagnose focused treatments, because we're all individual, we all have life happening to us. So can you just talk a tiny bit about those two things, like the symptom and diagnose focus kind of treatments that everybody gets?
Sure. Well, when it comes to energy, like a lot of the women I work with or talk to, even, they are told at one point that they have low iron, or they've been tested for vitamin B12, and they've had, it feels like, all the lab tests done, and they've been given medications or vitamin and mineral recommendations, and it's just not working for them, because what's actually happening is the results of a lot of those lab tests are what I call surface level health problems. They're not that deep underlying health condition that is actually creating those imbalances. So for example, with iron, I love to talk about iron because a lot of women are told to take iron. You've got low iron, and they're tested for low iron. But my clients usually have good iron. It's the absorption nutrients that they're missing. So for example, vitamin C and a few of the antioxidants and those sort of things that don't allow for iron to get into their cells. Therefore, they're exhibiting the symptoms of low iron, but they actually have enough low iron. And we have to be very careful, because if you address iron when you have normal iron, you can create a toxicity, which can make things worse. So it's that symptom, like trying to band-aid the symptoms with one thing or another that ultimately could be causing a lot of more nutrient gaps and problems with the body, creating energy and increasing inflammation.
And that is so very important for people to understand. And the doctors are taught, they're not taught to be holistic in nature and go deep and, dig deeper. And so, we have to be some of our own researchers and detectives and, gain that knowledge for ourselves. And I've done that for over 30 years. And
Yeah.
looking deeper, and there's so many parts to that, and I know our hormones play a big part in that. So how do hormones actually affect focus and productivity or energy for women, and how is this different from, say, the men in our lives? Because
Yeah,
we're totally
we're different
different.
then. Yeah, and that's ultimately a problem with how we're taught to go after like our ambitions and live our life, is the man-centric hormonal cycle. So couple things with hormones. So women, first of all, we have a natural hormonal cycle throughout the month. We all know that. We've experienced that at one point. And we also, like men, have a daily hormonal cycle that I feel like doesn't get talked about as much as the feminine energy cycle of our reproductive hormones. So monthly, if our hormones are balanced and working for us, we will feel really energized around ovulation. So that's about day, 12 to 15, 16 of every month.
Mhm.
And then slowly the energy will drop, but not crash, to a point where our energy is lower around our period. A few days leading up to it, during, and then it starts to rise. And this is really important to know because we don't want to push ourselves in the exact same way every day of the month. And I see this happening with exercise specifically, where we're given a 4-week exercise plan that is either exactly the same week after week or progressively gets more intense. And so I've had a lot of clients and myself burn ourselves out by following those mainstream male-centric exercise programs, because we're pushing our hormones. And one of our main energy hormone is cortisol, which is our stress hormone. We talk negatively about it sometimes when we're stressed. We want to reduce cortisol, but we need healthy levels of cortisol to wake us up in the morning and keep us focused and keep us keep inflammation down and to keep us going throughout the afternoon and be able to do everything we need to do. Now, on that note, cortisol is the daily energy cycling hormone. So when it's optimized and healthy, cortisol wakes us up in the morning. It's highest somewhere between 6 and 9 in the morning. That's why most people feel more focused in the morning. Then it slowly drops towards noon. And then there's a little bit of a dip right after noon. And that's why at afternoon, we generally feel a little bit more tired. So it's normal to feel a little bit tired in the afternoon. And then it lowers towards evening, which is when melatonin picks up. So it helps us fall asleep, stay asleep, and feel refreshed the next day for that cycle to start over again. So,
it's funny that you talk about the cortisol levels. And I remember a time in my life, and I was actually seeing, that's when I started seeing a naturopath in my life, and godsend for her. But I actually took a test that showed my cortisol levels in the morning at like 10 o'clock went this. It took a straight dive down. And I used to feel at that point that, I just woke up, like I get up at 5, right? But I felt like I had worked a whole day, and all of a sudden my cortisol levels were dropping. So I regulated them better, but it was interesting to see that it took such a big, deep dive. And so I think it's really important for women to understand that. And also, like you said, is to shift what they're doing if they're on an exercise program, which I never did, during their cycle, right?
Yeah.
Because the cycle does play a big role in that. So how can women tune into their cycles and their hormones, I should say, to actually improve their productivity throughout the day, throughout the week, and so on?
Yeah. So ideally, if you have any hormonal imbalances or you feel you might, and you're not kind of following that high energy mid-cycle, kind of lower towards your period, I would say get those hormones balanced first, because it's more powerful and you'll be able to support your energy and productivity better. But in the meantime, it's really about tuning into your energy levels. And you can even start by creating a log of your day. Like, how do I feel in the morning? How do I feel in the middle afternoon? Just rank your energy throughout the day, and then do that for a month or two and see. And then look for where you are most energized, or activities that most energize you, and do those in the morning. Do those when you need a boost. So for myself, my energy is lower in the afternoon, but I really love doing tech work for my business. And I really love creating like new documents or handouts for clients. And so it's not very intensive for my brain at the time, but it's something that energizes me. So I do those types of tasks when I need a little bit of a boost. When you feel most focused, that's when you can harness that energy and get stuff done, whether that's like creating a big plan for a project, or a new client survey, or coaching, or anything that really you need a lot of focus for. Do that during those times when you feel really focused, and kind of shifting your schedule around if you can to align with what's best for you at each phase of the day. I know this really helped me to just get those tasks that I don't dislike them per se, but I feel like I need the energy and the focus behind them. Like for me, it's marketing.
Yeah.
That has to happen in the morning.
That you can actually, I don't think most of us think about that, and like taking the task that we need more focused for, or tasks that we love, like you said, you like creating in those things. So use that in the morning to get you going, to get your energy going, and save that focus time for when you really need to create or really coach and be focused and in that moment. And I don't think that we think about that. And so I love that you said that for this group, because I think that will help them to, it's all these little things that we're learning that can say, oh, wow, if I could just do that. And some of it will be easy for people to implement. So I love that. And I think there's, great resolve in that. So what other tools might they be able to use to align productivity with, say, their energy level?
One thing that it's just a little thing that I learned was pay attention to if you have a bunch of resistance to an activity. If you're not wanting to do it, or if it feels really hard, take a step back and look at that activity. What type of energy is it creating for you? Why don't you want to do it? What is it about that resistance that's making you like, oh, I just don't want to do this? When I used to work in corporate, and I used to get really frustrated because we'd always have these 10 a.m. meetings every day. And I got to the point where I'm like, I don't want to go to these. And it took me a few weeks to figure out that I was resisting them, because, well, this is when I can get the most work done and create the most output for the company. And you're interrupting my day with a meeting.
Which probably doesn't lead to anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And so I actually asked my managers at the time, I'm like, can we shift these to the afternoon? And we were able to do a little bit of shifts, but not all of them, of course. But it did help, like, just to like notice why I was feeling so frustrated. Some other tools that I use it's more to boost my creativity and my energy when I need it, is putting on some music that feels good. So myself, what I've discovered in the last year is going to YouTube and putting on the hour-long Bridgerton soundtrack shorts, because it's instrumental, it's uplifting, but it doesn't disrupt my concentration, like word music with lyrics that I can hear. That helps me. Yeah, I think just really paying attention to what lights you up. And when you need that boost, do that work. Find something. And I can't stress the importance of taking breaks. We need to take little breaks, even though it might feel like, well, this is going to set me back. I'm not going to get enough done. If you can get up, go for a very short walk, get your body moving, dance it off, shake it off, whatever feels good for you, even for 10 minutes, will just reset your brain and get you back on track, and you'll boost your productivity. And then another trick that works when I really need it is to set time blocks. So I'll pick a single task, and this works for me when I'm overwhelmed. If my to-do list has, 15 things on the go. One task, I set my timer for 45 minutes. That's my like magic time. Everybody's different, maybe 25 minutes to start. Set the time block, sit down and focus only on that one task for your time. And then make sure you have a short break afterwards, whether that's just 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Just go grab some water, hydrate, get yourself moving again, and then come back and start it again. And I find that really helpful.
Yeah, and I love those. And I think that the really thing that stood out to me is recognizing why you might have resistance. I think that's really, really big. And because it opens up the door to ask the questions of, why is this happening? What can I do to change it? How can I adjust it or shift it or whatever? And then you start asking these questions that open up the different possibilities. And so I think that is so, so very important. I love that you put on some nice music. I usually listen to that instrumental music. I want to listen to, happy, good music, but then it does, interfere with what I'm doing. And I want to get up and just dance or do whatever. And I'm like, no. So I love that you do that. And for me, my time block is 90 minutes. Because I can get a lot of stuff done in 90 minutes. And if I'm concentrating on a project, and it depends on project. But then I'm like, okay, I get up, I go have, something outside, sit outside, drink a full glass of water and just sit there in the sun for 10 minutes. And it's like rejuvenating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And almost to a point I could get lost out there, but I don't,
Yeah.
And I know that we have a lot of health coaches in this group, along with different coaches, nurse coaches and life coaches and all that. But as a health coach, we know that food and, energy actually match each other. And so if there are any specific foods that might help increase focus, increase energy, make you feel motivated to keep going and not feel so sluggish in the afternoon?
I am very big on root cause of fatigue and low energy and brain fog. So at that high level, foods that are really good for reducing inflammation are fruits and vegetables, lots of fruits and vegetables, the antioxidants. I feel that most people need to increase the variety of fruits and vegetables that they eat. And don't be afraid of sweet potatoes or the higher carb foods like that, like carrots or beets, and bananas and pineapple. They're really, really delicious and have lots of great nutrition in them. And then omega-3 fats, plant-based, ideally like olives, olive oil, avocados, raw nuts and seeds. For women, I find that ground flaxseed is one of the a magic food for us because it helps us regulate our estrogen and it helps to fuel our adrenals and it helps to reduce our risk of constipation, which is always important.
Yes, because that could totally make you sluggish.
Yes. So that's a food that I really do suggest that most women, or pretty much every woman that can handle it, eat. Lots of water. Water is important. And if you're feeling stressed, adding a little bit of sodium to your water, Himalayan rock salt or sea salt, or having coconut water, because it's the perfect electrolyte drink that's from nature. And then that's inflammation. And on the adrenal side, same things, but you can increase your B vitamin intake with lentils, chickpeas, legumes, those a little bit of gluten-free whole grains, it's like rice or oats, and then protein. We need adequate protein. That's probably the biggest nutrient gap or macro gap that my clients start off with, is just not quite hitting the right amount of protein. So take a look at your protein and try doubling it, tripling it throughout the day and just see how you feel. See if that helps, because that usually helps my clients feel just significantly better within just a few days. So
And I love that you talked about the protein because that is very, very important. And, yes, we'd love to be plant-based, but I know that I remember my naturopath telling me that her sickest patients were vegetarians, mostly because they did not get enough protein. They just ate a lot of junk food and were not eating really good, nutritious food. But I also love the fact that you talked about inflammation, and that is like a root cause of energy, focus, and a lot of other things that are going on in our body that we're not, because we think of inflammation as something where we can feel it in our hands and our joints or whatever, if we get like a cut or something, but many times we can't feel it. It's there. And so eating, lots of fruits and vegetables, which I also love that you talked about, because so many people are afraid to eat them because of their natural sugar content. Can you talk about that just for a second?
Well, first of all, if we don't have enough natural sugar, natural carbs, full fiber in our bodies, this can trigger our stress response because it can actually signal to your adrenals that you're going into a starvation mode. So low carb diets like keto are so damaging to women's hormones when it comes to energy and focus. And unfortunately, a lot of keto diets are very pro-inflammatory too. So that's all I'll say on that. But the natural sugars in fruits and vegetables, as long as you eat them whole as whole foods, raw, lightly cooked, they have a ton of fiber, phytonutrients, antioxidants, and that it can almost combats or negates the sugar. And so you're not actually just eating, it's a huge difference from eating like 6 tablespoons of white sugar versus like some pineapple and a banana and some sweet potato, because the fiber helps to really slow down the body's absorption of those natural sugars. And plus you're getting all these other amazing nutrients that help support your health.
Yes. Yes, I love that. And what would you say are some nutrition practices for women that will elevate their energy and focus so that they can get more done in less time?
Eat breakfast. Eat breakfast. Ideally, I like to say within 30 minutes of waking up. I don't do that because I work out in the morning first. So I do eat my breakfast within 30 minutes of finishing my workout though. So eat breakfast. We need to fuel those adrenals in the morning and help support that natural increase in cortisol throughout, that will help keep us going throughout the day. And our bodies just had a really long fast, and we just have to be very careful we don't trigger that stress response starvation mode, because as women, if we are feeling exhausted, if we are feeling burnt out, anything like that, our stress response is dysregulated, and that's a key sign that it can very easily shift into like any sort of trigger is going to like keep spiking it, and we won't be in a state of healing and rest and energy. So breakfast is really important, so we feed our bodies. What I've found with most of my clients, like probably 95% of my clients, is they are more energized throughout the day when they don't have grains at breakfast. So like oatmeal, that's their favorite. Previously, that was their favorite. So no oatmeal at breakfast. Instead, it's eggs and vegetables, chia puddings, hemp seed porridge instead, smoothies with protein, that sort of thing. That really helps to keep them going and elevate their energy in the morning. Make sure you're eating enough food. A lot of women aren't eating enough food, and it's our silly diet culture.
Yes, it is.
That isn't serving us. So make sure you're eating enough food and choose whole food. Your body needs it. It'll tell you when you're full. It'll tell you when you've had enough. And the more you consistently eat more food, try it out, your body will eventually just kind of, it'll become refueled, and then it'll say to you like, okay, I've had enough. I'm refueled. I don't need as much food. This is a common worry with my clients, is that I'm like, I'm feeding you. You've been starving for so long. And the first couple of weeks, they're like, I'm not used to eating this much food, but I'm like, it'll regulate, and it always does. So just try eating more food. If you crash in the afternoon or feel really burnt out in the afternoon, look at lunch. Are you eating enough protein? Are you eating enough? Do you have a little bit of healthy fat in there, like some olive oil or an avocado or something? Just make sure you're fueling your body at lunch, because that's also a common meal that gets a little bit incorrectly done.
Yes.
And then have a delicious whole food dinner with your favorite protein, your vegetables, a little bit of starchy carbs, whatever it is you like. And unless you need it, I recommend not having a bedtime snack, because digestion takes work and energy, and this can keep you up and interrupt your sleep. That's something to play with as we regulate hormones, because some people do need a bedtime snack to sleep through the night, but most people don't. So individually, play with that, experiment, see what works for you. This is a really good time to have oatmeal, though, if you are into oatmeal. A bedtime snack with some oatmeal and a little bit of healthy fat, like a spoonful of coconut oil or almond butter or something stirred in, because this will help sustain regulated blood sugar throughout the night, preventing the waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning that can plague a lot of us.
Yes. And I love that. I love that you said eat breakfast. I was always, someone who just ate small meals throughout the day to keep my body balanced, to keep it energized, but it was all good, healthy, clean food that I ate. In the beginning, it wasn't, I experimented and just had to, it takes time to shift, like you said, our bodies into eating enough food, but enough of the correct food. And I do think that people who just say, oh, let me just eat a diet of salad for today and I'm good. No, your body is just like, and I think that the inflammation and sometimes definitely our hormones and our inflammation and the way that we're eating are not allowing those who are trying to drop some weight to actually do that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. We kind of become our own worst enemy. We create more stress on our bodies with some of those weight loss philosophies.
Yes.
And it increases inflammation, and then it makes it really hard to lose the weight.
Yeah, it really, really does. And so I want to thank you for this interview. This is great information. I do think, I know a lot of women who struggle with, and men who struggle with that energy level, that focus. They have the brain fog, and it really is starting to look at what we're eating more whole foods, eating, fresh foods that are going to actually support our body and what we're trying to do, regulating those hormones, finding out, if we have the inflammation and where it is and how to get those, that removed, because until you do that, it's going to be chronic and it's going to stay there. So I just love that. I am going to, make sure we can get you where at, Instagram, is it mostly?
Yes.
Okay, I have your links here. I have your link to your website, and you are offering the ladies a freebie?
Yeah, I have a 3 secret ingredients to healthy hormones guide.
Okay, I am going to check that out myself. I will put these links down below with your, after this podcast and right below there, so that everybody who wants to connect with you, follow you, they can absolutely do that, get some more great information for you to get energized and healthy and more focused in their day, and really start, shifting some key components to really just wellness.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this interview. Thank you. And bye for now, coaches. If you have any questions, post them below and we'll make sure that we get to answer them for you. And you can follow Daina at Instagram. All right, I'll put the links below. Bye.